every spoken word, what your soul has longed for, what your heart can feel is already here, is already real.
There is no one out there, there is no one else. You hold all the answers deep inside of yourself. There's a voice that whispers, there's no you, no me. There's just one, there's just unity.
One power, one presence, one life to lead the way. All loving, all knowing, that answers when you pray.
When the world looks darkest and your eyes can't see, gather all your troubles, give them all to me. I am always with you, I will always be. I am one, I am unity. We are one, we are unity.
Good morning. Welcome to Unity of Ventura's online Sunday service. My name is John Callahan, and I'm going to be your host this morning. We so appreciate that you've chosen to join us for this time. I personally am so happy to be here in this capacity with all of you. The multi-talented Smitty West is once again so kindly offered to assist me in this recording. What an extraordinary community this is. We come together as one in mind, in heart, and consciousness as a spiritual family. Our purpose in doing so is to be family for one another, to support each other, and to be there for each other, and to lift each other up when it's necessary. Your presence and your consciousness are so appreciated. Let's take a moment and remember who we are and what we offer. Unity of Ventura is a radiating center of spiritual well-being, renowned for our uplifting music, our inspiring sermons, and the living and loving and welcoming fellowship of our community. At Unity of Ventura, we practice and promote the principles of unity as expressed by the teachings of our co-founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. We welcome people of all faiths, all lifestyles, all backgrounds, all philosophies, all ways of thinking. And that's why we are called Unity. We continue now with the Daily Word, remembering we are one with millions of readers of the Daily Word all over the world. Today's Daily Word comes to us from May 23rd, earlier this year. The word for the day is power. The affirmation is, I use my indwelling power to direct my energy. When I start my car and begin accelerating, my vehicle moves down the road. I have its power under my control. I realize the power I have is not in the vehicle itself. My power derives from my ability to decide how to use my energy and authority. Whether I am driving a car or implementing an idea, the direction comes from within me. Neither the car nor the idea drives itself. My power comes from my willingness to allow the activity of God to move in and through me. The actions I take express the power of God. My thoughts and words express the spiritual truth of my being. My words and actions contain energy and significance, and I choose them carefully. My power leads me to express my highest, clearest self. Today's daily word was inspired by 1 John chapter 4, verse 4, which says, "The one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world." The word for today is power. The affirmation is, I use my indwelling power to direct my energy. So it is, and so we let it be. Amen.
Yeah!
All right.
Everybody,
I'm ready.
tell me, Smitty, what do you think about this?
I think we're in the right place.
Uh-huh. Woo. Where are we? I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome
We now continue with our statement of truth. Let's say it together. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the Good. Let's prepare now for a time of quiet contemplation. Finding a comfortable position, open your hearts to this meditation. Viktor Frankl, the noted neurologist and psychiatrist, once wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom." Is not courage, strength of character, desirable? Then we must live in an environment which necessitates grappling with hardships and reacting to disappointments. If I am courageous in my responses, if I make my choices wisely, the outcome will become useful regardless of the results. The truth is that we are all inherently creative. Be patient. Take the time to discover the facts, to recognize the values, to interpret the meaning, and then to choose to act. It is so easy to get stuck in the thinking part of this equation. Who of us hasn't spent way too much time stuck in the thinking part about it? Space. Not gotten around to the doing part of it. I used to seek perfection in my choices. This only led to a kind of paralysis. One of my teachers said, "John, The first draft is to get it down, not to get it right. True value comes from the experience of doing. Let love and wisdom work with each other when decisions are in the making. For just a moment, rest in the presence of God, knowing that you are loved and guided and supported. Oh, sweet Spirit, thank you for this gift of resting in your presence, for your peace and comfort. It's time now to return our awareness back to this time and this place, feeling refreshed, revitalized, and in tune with life. We affirm, so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. And now is the time for our inspirational message from Reverend Beth Ann. Her homily is entitled, Taking a Stand. In today's turbulent times, this lesson promises to be most timely. Reverend Beth Ann has been a rock in the Unity Church of Ventura for decades. She has influenced so many of us with her love and wisdom and insights. It gives me great pleasure to introduce her. Please join me in welcoming Reverend Beth Ann.
Well, good morning. Good morning, Uni. It's so good to be with you today, and I'm very excited about sharing with you some ideas that thoughts I've been having over the last couple of weeks with all that is going on in our experience today. And I know as I've been entering into looking out at what's occurring in life, I notice that I always have a choice. The choice is I can either look for what's being a limitation, or I can look for what could be a possibility. And I'm becoming very, very clear in my own journey is to be very, very interested in possibility. And so I want to talk today about what would it be like for you and I to take a stand for the possibility of what can be. And I know in my journey and watching other people and being a part of other people's journey, sometimes we spend more time and energy looking back at what was. And we begin to either wish we were there or glad we're not. One way or the other, we can look back to what was. And one of the things I've noticed about that in my journey is when I'm constantly looking back at what was, I'm not really moving. And if you and I agree that the whole importance of being alive is to step onto the path and follow it. And it doesn't mean that sometimes it isn't useful to look back and go to see where we were and how we got here. The dilemma that we get into is we can get very, very caught up in what's here. And one of the things that I love about the wisdom teachings that you and I love so very much is it invites you and I to take a very firm, consistent stand upon what can be. Out of this, what can be? And to stand upon that question, do you see, because our life takes form by the question that we're asking into our life. And you know that that's true, because if you spend any time whatsoever looking at what was, there's an energy in that moment and in the next moment of that's steady, standing still on your path. So you can be informed by all of that, and yet we have choice. The gift that we come with is to choose where we want to stand. And what that means for me is, where do I want to stand in my life journey so that I'm living my life, but I'm living the life that's designed for me, called the spiritual path, which is always about going forward. It's always about what can be. And that is what we're about. And I am excited by that because it's a greater experience. I notice that anytime I start thinking about, well, what could be? What could really be out of all of this? And I can either, I have choice. I can either look at what can be that is a limitation and wrong, do you see, or what can be as a possibility. And you know that if you become interested and focus your attention on what could be, you begin to get stirred up. Do you see? Because you're looking for possibility. And the choice that we have is we can look for possibilities that are really limitations, rather than looking for what can it be? What would it be really like to live out of that question? What it could be like? Because the moment that you start becoming interested in that question, what could it be like? Rather than, oh God, it's going to be like. No, because you and I, we don't really know where anything is headed. What we do know is that there is a path, and that path requires that we either walk forward, walk backwards, or stand still. I don't know about you, but I get pretty bored with standing still with what so. Do you ever live your life and you have a day, and in that day you don't even know what your day was? And if we were to just entertain what it could be, what can be, and in that moment we become absolutely creative. I mean, what can it be? Could it be to stand upon the idea of our world at peace, our world at harmony? What if we saw that out of everything that comes on the path, there is an opportunity to make a choice? And the choice is, I want to walk on, not to get away from, but to walk forward for what can be. And I'm experiencing that one of the things that I appreciate about all experiences, especially in my own personal life, you know how you're going along and you're doing just fine, and then all of a sudden something goes off or wrong. At least we think it's wrong, or it's not fun, or it's uncomfortable, or it's scary. And in that moment, we can choose to be in all of the scariness of whatever it is, or we can begin to look at what could be possible out of even this. And that puts us in the spirit of being creative. So what if we stopped seeking for the answer to the meaning of life, because there's the answer, but became a lot more interested in the question? Because the question that you ask in your life, you're living from it. You live from the question. And what is the question that you want to be a stand for? And I offer up that I invite us to take a stand for what can be. And it always reminds me of the saying, the best is yet to be. And when we're standing upon that, ask yourself, what do you experience when you start looking for what could be? And I'm looking for the possibilities of something wonderful is ahead of us. If not, we choose to look at what the limitations are ahead of us, or we stand still, as though you're taking a walk on a path and it's about turning around or staying put. And there are moments when it's so good. Take a breath and just stand where you are. And after a while, there's this longing that begins to emerge that's more interested in what's next. The energy of what can be is dependent on the way you're looking at it. Am I asking myself, what can be? And then I start engaging in an answer of how awful it can be. You know, it's like we can look out and we can either see that, and predict is what we do. We predict this is going to be bad. And of course, the moment that you predict that something is going to be bad, then in that moment, you will prove that you're right, and you will absolutely look for the evidence that says, wow, where this is going is limited. And at the same time, in that same exact scenario, in that same exact moment, you can say and ask, what could be? What could be? And the energy of what can be is looking for what's possible. What can be out of even this? And that will give form and shape to the way that we engage in our life. That's the beauty of the way we are designed, is that we choose in the moment, where am I going to put my focus? Where do I want to put my attention? Where do I want to align my actions with what can be? And beginning, it's bigger than visualizing what can be. It's learning how to behave from what can be. It's like one of the big sayings that has been emerging out of what we are in right now is, be kind. Be kind. And if you just think about that for a moment, imagine that you take a stand upon what could be is kindness. Great. Then the next step you take, you want to bring to it what can be an experience of kindness, love, peace, gratitude. Because that is where our journey takes us. The whole spiritual journey of life is not so much about the day-to-day. The day-to-day informs the direction on the path that we're going. And so you can begin to see, okay, I'm on the path. There is, you know what's interesting? There is no not being on the path. Take that in for a moment. You can't not be on the path, no matter what's going on in your life. So therefore, you are absolutely taking a stand to engage with the path. And we can look at the path and see all the things that might be off, which some things you want to look at so that you step over or step around them. But imagine looking for the possibility of forward movement. a forward movement, not to get away from, but to give form and shape to what will be. And I know in the last few weeks, that's been a question that is very present. Where is this all going? And you and I, the power and the gift that we have is to say, it can be an opportunity to create satisfaction in our journey, harmony in our journey, meaning and fulfillment. You see, what if that's what we needed to do collectively, is take a stand for what can be, because I sometimes imagine that when the creation of the path, wherever that started, I imagine it that the path grew out of itself and asked, what can be? What can be out of this path? It isn't even so much where does the path end? It's walking on the path. And we will either engage with what's possible, or we will stand still and not walk the path. You're on it, but you're not in it. That's what's so exciting. I want to be in it. I want to be in the possibility. I want to stand upon what we could create together out of what is right now. Right now, it's probably, I know in my lifetime, this I could easily say this may be the most scary experience that I've been in my life journey, in the whole life journey with all of us. I've never seen anything like this, and I have to choose the view that I want to have about it. I don't want to ignore it. I don't want to pretend it isn't there. I don't want to ohm away and not be present. It's how do I want to engage with what can be out of this? Because when a time comes and we start to look back, I want to look back and go, ooh, during that experience, I was alive and experiencing, choosing how I wanted to experience my life, regardless of what was occurring in the moment. And so I find now that it's important to begin to breathe. Give me an amen. You know what I mean. Sometimes we're walking around or standing on our path and we forget to take a breath. And the reason that taking a breath for a moment is it gives you the opportunity. It's like, okay, where do I want to stand right now? What do I want to stand for? What do I really want my life's question to be about? And I offer up what can be. The world as it can be. The world as it's truly designed to be. People, places, and things. I know every once in a while, and I know that you had the same experience. Here we are in the middle of all of this, and there are moments in which you and I are witness to something incredible. I was watching the news the last evening, and it was amazing. An apartment was on fire, and people were saying to the parent, throw the child And this ex-football player comes running across the line and catches this child. Now, there was, oh gosh, what's happening? And then there was what can be. And that mom, seeing that what could be was the continuing life of her child, out of which she took an action that was coherent with that. And yes, did she know whether or not that would work or not work? And didn't, there isn't that to it. It's that this is what the voice of wisdom, and in that moment it were people on the ground that were saying, drop the child. And here we are with an ex-football player walking by who runs and catches the child. Now, I don't know about you, but I could not have imagined that. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know that I would stand and say, well, let me see, is there somebody down there who's fast enough that could catch my child? But in the moment, living from standing upon what was important was my child continuing to live. It was beautiful. And in that moment, there was no commotion. There was no upset. In that moment, we saw this beautiful black man catching this incredible white child and saving it from dying. Now, I say we can look for evidence that what can be, if we look for it, is already happening. It's already happening. I know that there are lots, because in everyday life there's lots and lots of things happening. But you and I, we can stand upon, where do I want my life to be about? What was, what is, what can be. What was has its own journey. What is has its own journey. And what can be has its own journey. So you and I, we get to choose which of those three questions, what was, what is, what can be, creates possibilities. They create possibilities. And the moment that you can imagine a possibility, you can live from that. There's an old saying that says if you can imagine it, you can achieve it. I say, in our time together, we can be about standing upon consistently what can be, and then aligning our thoughts, our thinking, and our actions to match what can be. Try it. I promise you'll be on the adventure of your life, because you'll be living from and living out of the question. God bless you. And thanks for being here today. I know that when you and I come together on a weekly basis like that, and we stand in community for our inspiration, for our hope, for the possibilities in our partnership with each other, our partnership with God. Welcome to the path. Walk on it and go in the direction that you say can be. God bless you. See you soon.
Too many brothers falling, too many mothers cry, too many prayers that bounce back from the sky. Too much talk and too much cheat, too many fathers losing sleep, too many broken hearts we can't make right. We need love, love, love. We got to fight for love, love, love. We got a right to love, love, love. It's the only thing there just ain't enough of, there just ain't enough of.
Too many bridges burning, too many battle lines, too many wounded dreamers left behind. Oh, too much time spent building walls, what we found worth what we lost. Too many pages that we can't rewrite. We need love, love, love. We've gotta fight for love, love, love. We've got a right to love, love, love. It's the only thing there just ain't enough of. There just ain't enough of. All we need is a little love. All we need is a little love.
We need love, love, love.
Is a little love.
We need love, love, love.
Is a little love.
We need love, love, love.
Is a little love. Fathers losing sleep.
We need love, love, love.
Is a little love.
We need love, love, love. It's the only thing there just ain't enough of.
Is a little love. All we need is a little love.
We need love, love, love.
Is a little love.
We need love, love, love.
Is a little love.
As always, I am moved by Beth Ann's words, nudging us to make better decisions as we go about the shaping of our lives. And wasn't it delightful to listen to that beautiful song by Julia and Smitty? Thank you, Beth Ann. Thank you, Smitty and Julia, and the Unity Band for the wonderful music, always. You all deliver a wonderful service. Now is the time in our service where we practice the spiritual law of giving and receiving by supporting the place where we are spiritually fed, Unity of Ventura. You can donate to us by going to our website, www.unityofventura.org, and clicking on that button. You can't miss it. It says donate right in the middle of it. Or you can send a check to the church, or you can use your bank's bill pay service. No matter how you choose to give, it will be greatly appreciated. I invite you to hold your gift in your hand and in your heart as we bless it with our offering blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Let's say it together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Dear God, we give great thanks for the gifts that are being offered today and every day, knowing that they will be used to further the work of God through this ministry. We bless each other, knowing that they have given to us from a place of generosity and loving kindness. We see each giver being richly blessed for sharing of their prosperity in magnificent and wondrous ways. As we begin to close our service today, we extend great thanks to Beth Ann for her lesson, to the Unity Band and Choir for the ongoing uplifting music, to Smitty West for his wonderful behind-the-scenes magic in bringing these services to you week after week. And we especially thank each of you for being with us in mind and heart. It wouldn't be Unity of Ventura without you. Thank you, God, for these and all of our blessings, and so it is. Join us now as we conclude our service by singing the peace song and saying the prayer for protection, and by inviting each of you to join us again next week. Till then, thank you and God bless you all.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as our creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous love. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God